Hi team, hi, it's Econ Teach NZ here. We today are going to talk about the supply chains, the infrastructure that runs your life. The phone you use is a decade of geopolitics. The supply chain idea is the thing that became visible when it broke. Let's have a think about that. All right, cargo ships. How about this? PS5s. 2021, there was a shortage of a chip. It was the size of your thumbnail. It cost about $1 to make. It forced car makers to pull tens of billions of dollars worth of vehicles off the line. People had to wait 18 months for a new car. Dealerships had empty lots for the first time in living memory. One tiny component, tens of billions in disruption. That is supply chain fragility. And we only saw it because it broke. For decades, global supply chains were a triumph of efficiency. Just in time, zero inventory. Every step was made wherever it was cheapest. Then COVID hit. Then a ship wedged itself in the Suez Canal, and the world realized that efficiency and resilience are not the same thing. We had optimized almost entirely for one of those. I'm Econ Teach NZ. Here we go. Let's have a look. How they went global. Let's have a look at this now. All right, containers, shipping around the world, suppliers, all of that idea. The global supply chains weren't an accident. They were a rational response to falling costs. Three things made them possible. One, the shipping container. The standardized container from the 1950s cut the cost of moving goods by sea by around 90%. Quietly, it changed, everything. Number two, communications technology. By the 1990s, a German manufacturer could coordinate in real time with a supplier in Malaysia and a retailer in the US. Coordination costs collapsed. Number three, trade liberalization. As tariffs fell, sourcing from a low-cost country became irresistible. What's the result? A typical smartphone today has components from over 40 different countries. Glass from Japan, a chip designed in the US, fabricated in Taiwan, rare earth magnets maybe from China, assembled in Vietnam or India. The most complex production system humans have ever built. And for decades it worked, and it worked brilliantly until it didn't. What was the fragility? The fragility nobody priced in. Let's have a look at that. The container ship in the Suez Canal. Taiwan highlighted on a map. COVID, factory shutdowns, all of these having issues. Just-in-time production is efficient because it kills your inventory costs. You make exactly what you need when you need it. It's perfect as long as nothing goes wrong. The problem was we had no buffer. When a shock hit, a pandemic, a blocked canal, a factory fire, a war in Ukraine, there is no stock to absorb it. So it rips straight through the whole supply chain. Semiconductors are the perfect example. TSMC in Taiwan makes most of the world's most advanced chips in one place, in a country that China claims as its own and hasn't ruled out completely taking it by force. Concentrating that critical, irreplaceable input in a single geopolitically contested location. That risk was never in the models because the models didn't do geopolitics. That's a tail risk, right? A low probability, high impact, and systematically underweighted risk. When the Suez Canal was blocked for 6 days in 2021, it disrupted roughly $9 billion worth of trade a day. One ship. The canal was running for 150 years and nobody had tried to work that out. Nobody had war gamed it. What is your exam angle? Let's have a look. IB and IGCSE. Supply chains are one of the most cross-cutting topics in the whole syllabus. They connect the theory of the firm, economies of scale, specialization, international trade, comparative advantages, market failures, concentration risk, information failure, and your macro, supply side shocks. Examiners love case studies that span multiple units. This is that case study. What happens next? All right, have a look at the US fabrication construction industry, the CHIPS Act, where they sign, what about made in Vietnam as a label, India manufacturing? The response is already underway, and it is 3 strategies all at once. Number 1, reshoring, bringing production back to the home country. The US CHIPS Act, tens of billions to try to rebuild domestic chip making in the US. The cost, the US made chips are pricier than the Taiwanese ones. The justification, strategic autonomy, is maybe worth a premium. Friendshoring, moving production to your allies, China to Vietnam, India, Mexico. It keeps some cost advantage, but it cuts a concentration risk. Diversification, multiple suppliers for those critical inputs instead of a single source. It's more expensive, it's less efficient, but maybe more resilient. All 3 trade higher costs for lower risk. Is it worth it? What do you think? I'm genuinely interested because it means putting a number of geopolitical scenarios out there that nobody can predict. What we can say is that the era of pure efficiency is over. The only question now is how much resilience we are willing to buy and who pays for it. So supply chains, they were the invisible plumbing of globalization. COVID turned the lights on and we saw brilliant engineering and real fragility. The rebuild of this is going to take decades. It's going to cost more and it's going to leave us slightly less efficient, but probably more stable. Whether that's a good deal depends very much on how you weigh efficiency against security. And that's not a purely economic question. This is Econ Teach NZ. Please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. Should government subsidize strategic industries when it is economically inefficient? Should they do that? This is an economic case. We're not thinking gut instinct. Comment. What do you think? Next time, we're going to be having a look at what comes after globalization. What do you think is going to come after globalization? What do you think about the supply chain ideas? Comment in the video. Give me your thoughts. Do you agree with what I've said? Feel free to disagree. Bite back. Come tell me what you think about global trade, and I will give a shout out to the best responses. Otherwise, hei kōrera, have a fantastic day.